Should start getting notifications any minute now.
Let's see here.
Let's see.
I don't see it. Oh,
I can hear myself, and I don't like it.
there we are. Your background looks so much cooler than mine.
Well, I was lucky to have a really cool home office and a wife that puts up with me wanting to have a good home office. So that helps.
Yeah.
What was my news? What happened in this week that was interesting to me? Not very much. Too much politics.
No, it's not too bad on the politics, right?
Nothing too crazy, just all the same stuff.
Did you have to do what I did and get off Twitter?
I try not to spend too much time on Twitter.
Oh my gosh. I have gotten to the point where I log in, I look at my news feed, and I go, are you freaking kidding right now? You really believe this? Are you that stupid? And then I type out all my responses to all these supposed leaders.
Uh-huh.
And then I discard them because I'm too chicken to actually post them.
I do the same thing, except I used to post them, and it just, devolved into a name-calling episode. So now I do like you. I write them out, and then I delete them.
I posted them up until last week. And 90% of the tweets that I would send out is to the media team for Ron DeSantis and Lauren Boebert and all of the stupid fucknuts out there in the world.
Yeah.
Pardon my language.
There's only like 2 real news companies where I live, and then there's another one that's kind of like the redheaded stepchild. And apparently people in Idaho are not big on Twitter. Shocker, right? So I always not always, but I frequently would reply and comment on the articles that this news agency would tweet out. And it seemed like it was always me and 2 or 3 other people that kind of had my similar views, and then 2 or 3 other people that had the opposite. And the 10 of us would always just argue about it, and we were the only ones that were on the threads. It was kind of funny.
That is funny.
So
we've got the troll army. Anytime that our governor posts anything, we've got the troll army. We've got the bots, and we've got the Russian bots, and then we've got the QAnon dipshits.
Oh, there's so many of it. You never know what's real anymore. It's
gotten bad.
Sometimes you just have to wonder, are people actually that stupid, or is this intentionally fabricated and meant to rile me up? So
both.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
I think the ringleaders are intentionally trying to rile people up, but there are people that are stupid enough to believe the stuff that they're putting out there.
Oh, yeah, true. Definitely. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, right?
Right.
So.
I don't know. Oh, my God. I just saw your shirt.
Oh, you like it?
Dude.
I figured it was appropriate for this episode.
Mine's Save the Chubby Unicorns.
I like it. I like it. Very nice. Oh, man. Okay.
Cool. Man, so last week's episode, the super special one with our guest host, was our 50th.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't realize that until the hosting company sent me the email and was like, "Hey, congrats on your 50th episode." I was like, "Ah, cool."
Yeah.
So
I tweeted it out. I tweeted out that little banner and said, "Hey, everybody should check this out. Like, it's probably the best episode that we've ever done." And the hosting site, their PR team is actually like, "Oh yeah, that looks like an interesting one." So
nice.
I doubt they actually listened to it, but it was kind of cool.
Probably not.
Still, we got a shout out from Buzzsprout.
Nice. Can't complain about that.
That's right.
All right. I decided what my news is for the week. Just trying to find a little blurb that's not going to devolve into too long of a tangent.
If we go too long into the tangent, I think we'd be okay. I don't know.
Go back, go forward. Too many tabs.
All right. Well, you're flushing out your news. I'm gonna go fill up the water bottle.
Okay, sounds good.
I have to show you this.
What's up?
Because it went with me to Europe.
Uh-huh. Oh, nice.
I grabbed a sticker for everywhere that the water bottle has carried me.
That's awesome. Still got lots of real estate on that water bottle. You got to fill it out.
Oh, my friend, it'll be... There will be Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Hopefully soon.
Nice. I like it.
And fingers crossed if I get this job I applied for, there might be a Norway one that just kind of lives there permanently.
Nice.
Yeah. I doubt it because I haven't finished my degree yet, but you never know.
One day.
Alrighty.
That's the guy's name I was looking for. I'm gonna say
Still
it wrong
looking
anyway.
up stuff.
I just wanted to find the guy's name so I could. All right, good enough. Okay, I am ready now if you are ready.
I am ready.
Okay, then I will click this button, which I forgot to click last week, and the subtitle will magically update to the episode title. So.
Oh, snazzy.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna watch.
So last week it said pre-show shenanigans for like 60% of the episode.
So fancy.
Yeah.
That was adorable. You, sir, are a magician?
Something. I pushed a button and something happened.
Testing your Norwegian now. Vad dricker du?
I have no idea how to say the words for it, so I'm not even going to try.
Okay. På engelsk? Or I engelsk?
Hold on, I can öl do root? I don't know. The root beer Irish cream thing that I was telling you about.
Gotcha.
No idea how to say that.
I don't know either.
So I know beer is öl, the little O with the slash L.
Yeah.
Öl. I have no idea how to say root. I can't say cream. I can say milk because it's just milk. So
milk. Milk. What is root beer in Norwegian? Let's see.
Does it even exist? I know it's kind of.
I don't know.
Rotul, according to the Cambridge Dictionary. R-O-T, ul. I don't even know how to say that letter. L. So it's just it's
like compounded with your mouth like half closed. Ul.
Yeah. Rotul.
Buker. Ul. Björn. That's the easiest one to get the sound from. If you do Björn, you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's my turn to introduce, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, shucks.
Really quick before we start recording, give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. I will give you a second. Or 5. Or 100. Facebook site. Just double checking all the chat rooms, seeing if anybody is here. Okay, we have Adam's background is one of the coolest backgrounds. Super jealous. Super exciting. Hey, Sentra, how are ya? I just saw you pop in. We are just about to get started on the show, so you came at just the right time. I saw on Twitter that you were going camping. Are you going anywhere fun? I'm doing good. It's been a long day, super long day. So, a lot of classes in environmental science today. So, you know how it goes. Oh, that'll be so nice just to get up to the mountains. My wife and I are planning on heading up here in about 3 weeks. We're going to go to our favorite camping spot for a couple days as well. As far as what I want to do with my degree, I'm not entirely sure. Right now, the goal is to go into something kind of save the environment or Arctic exploration related. So, yeah.
All right, I'm back. Apologies.
Oh, no worries. Century was just chatting with us.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
All right. So you said you're introing, right?
I believe it is my turn to intro, yes.
Okay.
Running health checks. It looks like I'm good. Is my little thing moving?
Yes, I can see your waveform. You look good.
All right. You're looking good as well.
Okay. Ready when you are.
Give me half a second because I've got a little bit of that COVID cough hanging on.
Okay.
Okay, got that out of the system. Granted, that would have been a good click-in to cough. All right. Welcome to Views from the World Tree. On this week's show, we scream at the top of our lungs, throw rocks down canyons, and bang on trees, all in an effort to find the elusive Sasquatch. The elusive Sasquatch. And now, on with the show.
It's such a difficult word. Like, you would think that it is until you're trying to say it under pressure. It's one of those that twists the tongue.
I was not expecting to be tongue-tied, so
nice.
It is what it is. I'll take it. Yeah,
it's all good. All right, so for our opening news segment that we like to do, for what I've been reading this week, I am still working my way through The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Still loving it. Nothing really new to report there. I am about probably 60% of the way through volume 1. So, and also still listening to Failure's Not an Option by Gene Kranz. This one is a little bit longer than I initially thought it was when I picked it up. But it's still, super great. They are just at the point where they sent John Glenn up and completed the first successful orbit of the Earth. So it was really cool to hear his take on that.
Nice. I'm glad that you're enjoying them, and I do like the weekly updates. As far as Sandman, I did see that that Netflix is already talking about not extending it for another season.
Oh, not extending it? That surprises me.
Not extending it.
That's too bad. It's too bad.
So,
I've really enjoyed it. But
I haven't watched it yet, but I mean, I don't know. Their prerogative, I guess.
Well, it is an adaptation of a graphic novel or a comic book, right? So the different issues don't really feed one into the other the way that like a traditionally syndicated TV show does. So maybe some of the users, maybe that throws them off a little bit, but I don't know. I thought it was good. and I see that Sencha in the chat really loves it too. So
yeah,
maybe we should start a write-in campaign.
Maybe I'll watch it this weekend. Just have to check it out.
Yeah. So speaking of TV shows and movies, for what I've been watching this week, my wife and I actually just finished watching Top Gun Maverick just before we started recording this episode, and I was, how do I put this? Really, really pleasantly surprised. I had heard a lot of good things about it, and I intentionally tried not to get my hopes up because sometimes when a movie gets good reviews, it's easy to get overhyped and then you get kind of let down. But that was not the case. It was excellent. I really enjoyed it. So definitely would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Have you seen this one yet?
I have not. I'm still nervous to go into the theaters with everything, even though I've caught this silly thing twice. So I don't know. I still haven't seen it. Hear great things. So definitely on my list.
Yeah. It's out on iTunes now, if that matters, because that's where I watched it. So that's where I watch all my movies.
Yeah, I saw that today because I was in kind of a bad mood, so I was going to turn on Ted Lasso. And I saw that it had popped up as you can rent it on iTunes. So,
yeah. And then I did pick up a new game as well. This is called Cult of the Lamb. Have you heard about this one?
I have not. There's a couple streamers that I followed have been playing it, and I haven't caught one of their streams yet. It looks silly.
It is silly. It is fun. It's cute. The best way I can describe it is a cross between a roguelike dungeon crawler and a city builder. So you play this little lamb, and you start a cult, and you recruit followers that you find when you're out crawling through these dungeons and stuff. And you bring them back to your little compound, which you have to build like places for them to sleep, and you have to build farms and grow food for them. You have to build like sanitary facilities, the whole 9 yards, and then you just kind of progress and go through going through the dungeons, and then sometimes your followers will give you little, I don't know if they're technically called quests, but they're basically quests to go back into the dungeon and pick stuff up, and like it gets harder over time, and you kind of upgrade your stuff. So, but yeah, it's pretty fun. I will say it has. So I play it on Steam. I've played it on the PC and on the Steam Deck. They both work flawlessly, but I have heard from friends that play on consoles that it's kind of buggy, unfortunately. So if you play on, I know it's out on the Switch and maybe the PlayStation, probably Xbox too. For some reason, they've had a lot of bugs, but I haven't had any problems on PC.
Nice. Yeah, even though I own consoles, they really are just media boxes for me. Like, I really just use it to watch TV.
Yeah.
Or the occasional game. I usually get games that I know my computer would eat itself if I tried to run.
Well, they're good for that.
Yeah. But I'm not much of a console gamer. I think I'm just too broad shoulders that my hands go to sleep when I'm like holding a controller.
Yeah, fair enough.
Super close together. So, yeah, you can blame my my super hyper masculinity on that, or something.
Yeah, but anyway, fun little game. I did technically pre-order it, which I know is kind of taboo, but I was interested, so it's would recommend it if that's your kind of game. So
yeah, I do like city builders, and I do like dungeon crawlers. So I might have to check it out.
There you go. And then news. This one, So I'm not a crypto bro, but I do play around with the cryptos a little bit, and I thought you would be interested to know this piece of news about Ethereum, which is one of the bigger cryptocurrencies, probably the most popular outside of Bitcoin. They are getting ready to change the way that they validate their blockchain. So the way that it works now, the way that Bitcoin and a lot of others work, is a concept called proof of work, where all of the computers in the pool connect and they solve these crypto puzzles to validate that the work was done, and that's how you create more coins. And Ethereum, and the founder, Vitalik Buterin, I'm probably butchering that name and I apologize, he is getting ready to move to proof of stake, which is kind of a newer method. And a large part of the reason he's doing this is because crypto mining is incredibly energy intensive. You have these big mining rigs consisting of multiple like graphics cards, super powerful computers, and they're sucking up all of this electricity. And proof of stake works a little bit differently, where if you want to participate in that blockchain and validate transactions and dictate when new crypto coins get created, you, in proof of stake, you put up some of the crypto that you earn as collateral. And so that's how you prove that, you know, the coins that you're submitting or the validation that you're performing is, legitimate, rather than just sheer brute forcing. So it's estimated that it's going to drop the environmental impact of mining Ethereum by like 1,000% or something. So
wow,
I thought you would be excited to hear that.
I still, crypto is like such a foreign concept to me. It still makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I know a lot of people are talking about these blockchain, like non-fungible tokens type of things, NFTs, blockchain. It's the future of everything.
Supposedly.
I still don't understand it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, neither do I. It's just one more little thing to play around with, throw $50 at it and trade it between different coins and play the crypto market. So
there you go. So what's this going to do? Is it going to create a surplus? Is the price of Ethereum actually going to lower?
It might.
Or is it
I don't know.
Hard to like build up, or hard enough to prove that there's still going to be not a huge surplus?
I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference. Right now, if you want to be able to mine additional coins, you have to have such overpowered hardware to be able to do that. And under this new proof of stake method, if I understand it right, you're basically competing against everybody else on the chain. And so you have to stake the most crypto on your validation. So it still is kind of determined by whoever the heavy hitters are in the market. So
it's still going to be the multimillionaires that can daisy chain like 200 computers together anyway.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. On one hand, I think you're going to have a lot of people buying into it because they're excited to finally have a chance to create new coins, new Ethereum. Because the allure there is it doesn't technically cost you anything if you are able to be the one that creates it. So, and I think the price right now is like $2,000 a coin, something like that, or $1,800, $1,900. It goes up and down. And so you've got people that are going to want to jump in because it's new and exciting. You've also got people that are probably going to sell a lot of theirs because they're worried about how the new system's going to work. So I think it'll probably balance it out. It's been a little bit volatile just in the last couple months leading up to when they're going to cut it over. But it's mostly stayed
the
stable.
Regular stock market, like it's all volatile right now.
Right, and even the other cryptos are all doing the same. So I don't know. Anyway, that was the piece that in the pre-show I was like, I don't want to go into it too in depth because I don't fully understand it, and it's definitely a tangential thing. So I will call that. It
might actually be an interesting topic for a future episode, just because neither one of us really understand it, and I do enjoy learning new things to do the show.
True. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
might be a ways down the road if we do it, because I would have to start from like 0.0.
Right. But yeah, that was my week. What about you? What's going
on? My week has been a little bit less exciting, I guess. As far as reading, I did start classes yesterday, so I'm into the last year of my senior year. 20 years of college, and I'm almost done. Woo! So I've been reading a lot of ecology books, which is always fun, always interesting. But to kind of supplement that, I picked up a book a while ago called The Oxford History of the Kings and Queens of Britain, and I've been playing a lot of Crusader Kings, and so I wanted to learn the real history of some of these people that I was playing against in this game. So I picked that up, and I've been reading that a little bit.
Nice.
So
cool.
I don't know. I read about the Kingdom of York today, and all the different Danish and Norwegian kings that settled the north of England, Northumberland, which was kind of interesting. A history that I knew of, but I didn't know the whole history type of thing. So,
yeah, I'm not really a big history guy, but sounds interesting. If I was going to be a history guy, that would be the part of history that interests me, I guess. So,
yeah. I don't know. History's always fascinated me because I love a good story. I don't think it really interests me as I want to learn from it, lest I repeat the mistakes of our forefathers or whatnot. But it's a good story. I enjoy reading it. I enjoy understanding a little bit more about the culture. But it re-cements why English is so messed up. The whole saying of English is what you get when Vikings learn Latin to yell at Germans. Kind of fits.
Yeah, that tracks.
So, yeah. And then as far as watching, so I finally convinced my wife to watch Alone with Me. So we started watching the last season, Grizzly Mountain, the episodes from this last summer. And it's actually been kind of a fun little thing that we were both kind of enjoying, I guess.
Cool, yeah.
Are you caught up on that show yet?
I am, yeah. My wife and I have finished out the current season, so I will be sure not to spoil anything for you. But
okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Are you watching the new Arctic, the Frozen one or whatever?
It was season 9. They are in northeastern Canada in polar bear country.
Okay.
So.
Gosh.
Is that the one you guys are watching?
We are watching 8, so we're watching the one from the summer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
We're pretty far in. There's 4 contestants left, so I think we're within 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. We're yet to watch episode 9. There's a hard rocker there that I just love his personality, but I think he's probably next one to go.
Is his name Biko? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I do remember him. He's a character. Had the animal bones that he carved to put into his nose
to
and
keep his
piercing open. Yeah, he was a cool guy. I really enjoyed watching him.
He seems like a guy that I would love to hang out with.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you.
Cool.
And then haven't really been playing anything. Also canceled all of my streaming services. So here in a little bit, I'm going to lose all access to TV except for Peacock, just because I have to continue to watch soccer.
Fair.
So I don't know what I'll be watching after that. And then news, I finally got hit with the Duolingo update that everybody hates.
I have not gotten that one yet.
Oh man, it turned over today. I was in the middle of a Norwegian lesson, and it crashed, and then when I loaded it back up, it looked different, and I was sad.
Yeah, change is rough.
I hate change. I feel like Sheldon Cooper sometimes. People tell me change is good, but it's never good. I don't believe it. So.
We have a question from the chat. The movie Prey on Hulu, the new Predator movie. I have not seen that. Have you seen that one yet?
I have not seen that one either.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen previews for it, but I have not actually had a chance to sit down and watch it.
Yep. I don't have Hulu. That was one of the first ones that didn't make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool. Yeah, it's on my list. I'll get to it at some point, hopefully.
I'll steal your login and I'll watch it.
There you go. That'll work. Till they disable it like Netflix is trying to do. But
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's the news. That and I started school yesterday.
Fun.
Which I think I already said, so I don't know.
All right. Well, with that, we should get into our main topic. Talk about Bigfoot.
So before we start, you moved up to Bigfoot country.
I did.
Have you seen him yet?
As you can see by my shirt. I have not seen him. I have been up in the woods, in the mountains quite a bit, as I like to do. Not as much as I would ideally like to do, but I don't think that's realistic. So, no, I have not seen him. But maybe that's just because he does not want to be seen.
That's the theory. Yeah. I spend a lot of time in the Colorado mountains and haven't seen him yet either. Cool.
Well, you wanted to go ahead and start this off? I know you did a lot of the notes this week, so.
Yeah, I can do that. So to start off our Bigfoot discussion, we kind of have to talk about what Bigfoot might look like, what he is, or she is, or what they are. I don't know what pronouns Bigfoot goes by. The current consensus, though.
And we should preface this by saying we're not Bigfoot experts. We're interested in it, but...
That's, perhaps we should. We are not cryptozoologists or Bigfoot fanatics. Maybe after this show we will be. I don't know. Anyway, the current consensus. Bigfoots are large, bipedal, muscular, and ape-like. Bipedal meaning they walk on two legs. They tend to be 6 to 9 feet tall, which is about 1.7 to 2.7 meters in height. Some people who have seen them claim that they have more of a human face than animal, which has created a moral dilemma when people go out to hunt them. There's hunters that have claimed that they could not shoot a Bigfoot because it looked too human.
Interesting.
The most common feature described by eyewitnesses is a putrid smell coming from the ape, giving it a local name of skunk ape in Florida, as well as kind of taking over in the Pacific Northwest. So that is
so reports of the smell are becoming more common, or
the nickname skunk ape.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And I was searching it out. I guess it comes from a Florida legend, but maybe people from Florida have just moved up to the Pacific Northwest, and maybe that's why it's
I hope
being
not.
called a skunk
Everybody's
ape
moving up here, man. Already got everybody from California moving to Idaho. We don't need Florida too. Sorry, kind of on one tonight.
You are. That's okay though.
Yeah, I mean it could be, right? It's kind of interesting sometimes how nicknames and stuff travels like that, but
yeah. So that's what they look like. Now, of all the pictures, because I've seen pictures, I know you've seen pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the most common picture is that it's like black or dark brown fur.
Yeah, that's what I typically see. Kind of like a Harry and the Hendersons type vibe.
Oh, gosh, I love that movie.
But yeah, other than the color, I think the one thing that's pretty common to a lot of the video footage and the pictures that I've seen is it has really long limbs, kind of lending credence to that, what you were saying about some type of a large bipedal ape creature, right?
Yeah.
Definitely longer limbs than a typical human. Even if you were to like scale a human up to be 7 feet tall or 8 or 9 feet tall, I feel like it's a lot more lanky.
It does fascinate me, these long limbs that it has, especially on the forearms or the forelegs.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that almost like an orangutan or a gorilla, that they would use the arms to move, but I've never seen ape-like movements from any of the video.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not an ape expert either, but it also does not seem to walk strictly like a human does either. Like there's the famous film, the Patterson film. Somebody said that shows it kind of lumbering through the woods and not necessarily like a human would walk, but also not quite like an ape. But maybe it's the missing link.
Could be.
I haven't read all of your notes. I apologize if that comes in later. But
no, I did not do any of the theories of the evolutionary theories.
Okay. So. Cool. So, before we get too much further off the rails, just looking at the history then of it in the research that we did. So, a lot of First Nations tribes have legends of some type of large hairy creatures that live deep in the forest. Most of them predate the first recorded Bigfoot sightings. One that's fairly well known, the Tule River Reservation, Painted Rock. There's a painting called The Family, which depicts a family of ape-like creatures, with the largest being called the Hairy Man. And then also Spanish settlers in California told stories of creatures called Dark Watchers, which were large animals that allegedly stalked the settlers' camps. Also over in Mississippi, Jesuit priests wrote of hairy creatures that would scream before stealing cattle, which actually lines up pretty closely with the Bigfoot myth. You and I have talked before about some of the shows and documentaries on Bigfoot and how that's one of the ways to go out and try and call or try and attract Bigfoot is to go out and scream.
All of those Finding Bigfoot shows, when you have these professionals go out and scream at the top of their lungs, it still just makes me laugh my butt off. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's very entertaining to watch. So, although, to be fair, somebody watching me go out in the woods and, try and call in an elk or something would probably think that's pretty funny too.
That's fair. So there's 3 more points in the history. Robert Pyle, he's an ecologist, and his explanation of the Bigfoot myth is that many cultures have legends of hairy giants, or larger than average men that live out in the wilderness. These can be the frost giants, or a sort of the Scandinavian tribes. It can be the Yetis. It can be even apes are kind of seen as big. And the belief in these cultural myths, Pyle believes that they represent a need to identify something larger than life, or something to kind of explain the unexplainable type of thing. And that's kind of his thought. And I'm going to butcher this. I apologize to anybody, any member of this tribe that is listening. The Stales people, which is a tribe from the lower region of British Columbia, they have a myth or a legend of a shape-shifting protector of the forest named Sasquatch, anglicized to be Sasquatch, which roughly translates as hairy man in the Halkamalam language. That was a mouthful, and I do apologize for any bad pronunciations.
I thought you handled it very well, better than I could.
It's all about saying it with authority, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the legends that I looked at as I was doing these notes, they range from an angry forest protector to a cannibalistic monster to misunderstood wild men that just live in remote areas and steal your fish. So there's a whole gambit of myths, from like very dangerous, like otherworldly type of beings that you should fear, to just long lost cousins that like are kind of trickster gods type of thing.
Yeah, I watched a movie, and granted, this was in no way a documentary, not even like suggested that it was nonfiction. What was that called? It was on Netflix, and it was a horror film. Oh, The Ritual. That's what it was called. There's
I heard that one.
It was, I want to say it was Norwegian or Swedish, and there's these 4 or 5 guys who go up into the woods. They were friends in college, and then they kind of drifted apart. They get back together and go on this like camping trip. And like I said, it's a horror film, so it's very like Blair Witchy. They run across these cultists who try to offer them up as an offering to this large furry creature. And in the film, it's described as one of the Jotuns. So what you said about that made me think of that movie.
The Jotnar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not directly, Bigfoot, but was based on actual the folklore.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Actually, actually just wrote it on my on my notepad of things to watch so that I can discuss.
Nice.
So
cool. Let's see. So we're at the name origins now. Is that right? Or
yep.
Okay. So where did the name Bigfoot come from? In our research, we found I found a gentleman named Jerry Crew, who in 1958 was working as a logger in California and discovered a set of large 16-inch human footprints. So, big. That were sunk deep into the mud of the Six Rivers National Forest. That's 41 centimeters for our international listeners on the podcast. Many of his crewmates mentioned that they had noticed similar footprints around the area, and some other strange things started happening around the logging camp. A big oil drum being moved without explanation, trees being toppled over, etc. And so they started to blame it on Bigfoot, this unknown kind of boogeyman that was stalking their logging camp since they had found the footprints. That's just kind of what they called him. Eventually, the story found its way to the local newspaper, where it spread across the region and eventually across the country and around the world. In 2002, so a good 50, 60 years later, the family of one of the crew members from that logging crew stated that their father had been secretly making the footprints with a wooden stencil to prank his coworkers. So whether or not Bigfoot is real, the name came from what was described as a prank by somebody who was connected to the crew.
There you go. So the next bit is not about our Sasquatch friend. It's actually cultural references of Bigfoot, other ways that Bigfoot's been used in kind of North American folklore and history. And I added this because I thought it was just fascinating. So, in the 1830s, a Wyandot chief was nicknamed Bigfoot because of his large stature. A lot of them seem to be Native American or First Nations chiefs. Potawatomi chief Mauksuk was nicknamed Chief Bigfoot. He has a state park and a school named for him in Wisconsin, I think. I didn't write that down. I probably should have. William A. Wallace, not the William Wallace of Scottish legend, but a Texas Ranger, was nicknamed Bigfoot because he wore very large shoes, and the town of Bigfoot, Texas is named after him. So if you're ever down in Texas, Bigfoot is not named after the ape-like being. It's named after a Texas Ranger. The Lakota leader, Spotted Elk, also had the nickname Bigfoot. And I don't know if the Forest Service or Park Service or something does this to make fun of Bigfoot believers. But whenever there's a problem grizzly in an area where they come into contact with humans and become become a problem, a nuisance bear, they are nicknamed Bigfoot. So whenever there's a nuisance bear in an area, they're codenamed Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, interesting.
So,
with my,
I thought that was kind of funny.
So what you're saying is, if I'm browsing the airwaves with my amateur radio stuff, if I hear somebody talking about Bigfoot on one of the government radio bands, it's probably a nuisance bear.
It could be a nuisance bear.
Cool.
Or that could just be the story that they tell us so that we don't know the truth.
Yeah, you never know. I would not put it past the government to, cover something up. So
they would never do that.
Right?
Just
all right.
Like they would never listen to our podcast. And...
Well, if we suddenly go off the air, you'll know why. No.
There you go.
So as far as Bigfoot sightings, then, there have been over 10,000 reported sightings in the continental U.S., approximately a third of which are located in the Pacific Northwest. Popular hotspots for the sightings include Washington, Oregon, western Idaho, northern California, and British Columbia. Also, the Great Lakes region of the U.S. and Canada, and the southeastern United States, which was always interesting to me.
It is interesting. I feel like this is almost like all over North America. Because I found sightings, like reports of sightings in Arizona, in the middle of Navajo country. I've seen reports in northern Utah. Colorado's got sightings. New Mexico has its own Bigfoot festival. I would assume that they would have a Bigfoot festival because there's been sightings. You never know. It is New Mexico. It is fascinating just how broad this is, that people have seen these ape-like creatures everywhere.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there's maybe some type of like relative species, right, that split off and prefers like the wet, swampy Florida type climate to the wooded Pacific Northwest. But that's kind of outside my realm of expertise. I know you're the biology guy. Is that plausible? Like, species ever split and migrate like that?
It is plausible. That's basically the foundation of Darwin's observations in the Galapagos. Is a species split with a certain type of bird, and the way their beaks developed based on resource acquisition compared to the mainland birds of the same species, and how these birds in the Galapagos are actually a different species at this point because the environment was so different. So, evolutionarily speaking, it could be after the Ice Age, maybe these creatures have been here. I mean, they've been here pre-Columbian, right? With a lot of First Nation myths.
Mm-hmm.
It very well could be some of the species stayed up north or followed the receding glaciers up north. Some of them stayed south, some of them... So, if they do exist, it could be slightly different species with different niches in the environment.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. As an engineer that doesn't know anything about biology. But
it's things like that, which is why I got fascinated with biology to begin with, is just how species are different across different regions, how the environment and all the systems of the ecosystem work in different areas.
Yeah.
It's not the same everywhere. It's just fascinating. So.
Cool.
Some of the other names that Bigfoot goes by, and this is kind of a fun list. Sasquatch is often widely used in conjunction with Bigfoot. They kind of interchangeable at this point. Skunk ape, we kind of talked about that. This comes from first person or like eyewitness accounts of a wretched, almost sewage-like smell coming off of these things. Grassman.
Just because of the hair, probably.
Probably the hair.
Yeah.
Fook monster, that didn't make sense to me, but it's very colloquial. Just like wood booger.
Nice.
Yeah, I was out there hunting. I saw this darn wood booger. It came after me. It's all right though. I got him. That feels like such a southern nickname, the wood booger.
Probably.
The monster of Whitehall. This one actually originates from Whitehall, New York.
Interesting.
Momo.
Momo, okay. Isn't that Spanish for like clown or like clown face or funny face?
I think it
is.
My Spanish is not up to par. It could be.
Yes. Clowning, funny face, acting like a clown. Yeah. So
interesting.
From the funny face, probably.
Yeah. I like that. Dewey Lake Monster. The Mogollon Monster. Big Muddy Monster. The Old Men of the Mountain. And Wood Ape. Of those, I feel like I've heard Skunk Ape, Wood Ape, Bigfoot, and Sasquatch the most. And I've only heard Wood Ape off of a radio show called Coast to Coast whenever they bring on these Bigfoot experts. I feel like that's the cryptozoological name that they give it to sound like they're not people who just go after Bigfoot. So
okay. Yeah, I've definitely heard Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and I think that's it. I think similar to you, I heard the term wood ape on one of the documentaries, or maybe one of the other podcasts that I was listening to, the like paranormal type podcasts. I don't remember which one, but anyway. So as far as behavior, then moving on, the behavior reported by people who have cited Bigfoot include territorial displays of, being defensive, also for communication, like throwing rocks, knocking wood, like banging sticks against trees, pulling trees out of the ground, hanging their prey in the trees. Also reports of nesting, similar to gorillas in Africa. Also, a lot of reports that Bigfoot is nocturnal in nature, although I know you as a biologist noted that as far as primates, this would be a departure from that. So maybe it's not a primate. Also, they do seem to be fairly solitary. Very few, if any, reports of sighting, in packs or family groups. Some people hypothesize that hunting and gathering falls to the male Bigfoot, while child rearing and stuff like that falls on the matriarchs of the families. And maybe that's why they haven't been seen.
There you go. Vocalizations. If you ever watch a Bigfoot hunting show or any of those, these are the sounds that Bigfoot supposedly makes or allegedly makes. Howls, screams, moans, grunts, whistles, and some have even reported a form of functional language.
I've actually heard that before on other shows. Do you have any other information on that?
Not a lot. In my research, Les Stroud, the survivor man, he actually was out in the woods and had said that he heard something that he'd never heard before, and it sounded like language to him.
Okay.
And I should put more credence on these Bigfoot experts. They are experts in their field. But I put credence on this guy, mostly because he is a documentary maker who doesn't seem like somebody that would be hoodwinked. He kind of, in all of his shows, from Survivor Man to There was one that he did for Discovery or National Geographic, I think. Actually, National Geographic, where he went up into Canada to document bears. So he's a journalist at Nature, and I don't think that he would fall victim to falling for a hoax or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, of all of the different things, really, them having a language is really honestly not that far-fetched for me. I train dogs, and dogs are nowhere near as intelligent as like chimpanzees and apes, and Bigfoot is supposedly even closer to humans than that. So really, a lot of animals have different vocalizations. Even, Jane Goodall way back in the day with the gorillas noticed that. And so really, that's, if anything, that makes it more plausible to me of their existence, because it would be weirder if they existed and they didn't have some type of a spoken language, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
So,
vocalizations.
Yeah. Even whales do, right?
Oh.
And if they don't, if they stop vocalizing, you have to go back in time and steal a Klingon bird of prey. And yeah. Anyway, Star Trek reference. Sorry.
It's interesting that you brought up the whales. Mammals, especially, have a lot of vocalizations. I think almost as many as most bird species. But whales, I can't remember what the actual numbers were, and I'd have to look it up. But I do know that the Humpback Whale Project has found like thousands of different tones and vocalizations, from the clicking patterns to the whistling to the songs to everything, that they actually believe that whales might have a more I can't think of the word, a more
complex language
than what we do. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
complex.
No problem. I remember watching something where oceanographers and stuff had observed whale pods and were able to isolate specific sets of sounds and vocalizations in reference to specific members of the pod. And so they surmised that whales might actually have some form of spoken names for each other, which is really cool.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the documentary Blackfish?
It does not ring a bell. No.
For some reason, I wanna say, and it was in that documentary. It might have been a different one, but the orcas at SeaWorld. The reason why they brought one in that was attacked by the pod that was at SeaWorld, the performing pod, and they theorized that it actually spoke a different dialect of orca than the pods in captivity, and so it was seen as an outsider, as a danger, as a threat.
Oh, interesting. So whales are xenophobic, apparently.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I didn't mean to derail and go on a tangent, but yeah, vocalizations.
Oh no, freaking awesome tangent.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. So we'll just skip it. It wasn't important. The vocalization tangent was 100 times more important than whatever I was going to say.
Okay. So next on our list, we have some encounters that we wanted to talk about. So in 1924, an encounter known as the Battle of Ape Canyon. A group of miners reported being attacked by hairy ape-like men that threw rocks onto their cabin roof from a nearby cliff after one of the miners tried to shoot a Bigfoot. Later, 1974, a man by the name of Albert Ostman claims to have been kidnapped and held captive by a Bigfoot in 1924. It's interesting that those timelines match up.
Yeah.
And then last year in 2021, a documentary on Hulu called Sasquatch tells of the story of marijuana farmers who reported Bigfoot's harassing and killing people within the Emerald Triangle in the 70s through the 90s.
Sorry, that was a typo. Emerald Triangle.
Emerald Triangle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Allegedly, in that instance, Bigfoot murdered 3 migrant workers in 1993 in the same area, though it is thought that this was more likely linked to illegal drug trade. So I went through those kind of quickly. Did you have any other details on those in your reading and research?
No. Those were the 3 that just seemed the most interesting to me. If you watch any supernatural things, everybody talks about the Ape Canyon incident. And then kind of like people that have been abducted or claim to have been abducted, like this guy claiming to have been abducted in his youth, and then coming out about it, 50 years later, talking about being kidnapped and held captive by Bigfoot sounded fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the marijuana farmers, and I know psychedelics, marijuana, like anything that alters the brain, you can kind of imagine things. But the fact that multiple people over decades in this illegal farm have been terrorized by Bigfoot was fascinating, especially Pacific Northwest. It comes to that myth of the Sasquatch, where they got their name, right? And of Sasquatch being a forest protector. If they're cutting down trees to grow illicit drugs, I could see a forest guardian terrorizing them and trying to scare them away. It just seemed very compelling, which is why I added that one.
Yeah, and shared hallucinations are not really a thing ever. So,
right.
Yeah, I would agree that definitely lends some believability to it. So,
yeah. So that's why I chose those 3.
Cool. And I know there's lots of others that are out there. Unfortunately, we have to try and keep it to within about an hour, so we might have to do a follow-up episode in the future. But I saw that in the notes you had some possible explanations. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah. So the current possible explanations is bears. And the thought is a lot of the video and photographic evidence of Bigfoot is taken from such a far distance that your eyes really can't understand what you're seeing. And so the thought is that it is a grizzly bear, brown bear, black bear, Kodiak, whatever area you're in. The belief that it's bears that are being falsely identified as something that doesn't exist in this area. Which I actually kind of believe. There's one photo that I looked at, and from the distance it looked very... The animal that they caught was like very hairy, almost like a gorilla, like orangutan, like just really super hairy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a scientist that had dissected that photo and looked at it and said, to me, that looks like a cinnamon-colored black bear that has mange.
Oh, yeah. I've seen dogs with that.
Mange is something, it's a type of disease that just causes, like, wildness to it. I don't know exactly what causes mange, but I see it in coyotes here in Colorado quite often.
Yeah, it's caused by mites. It's a skin disease caused by mites. So,
Okay.
and it can cause anything from like super matted, overgrown areas to like bald spots in the coat, just very like irregular, like you said, wild looking fur coats. So, at least in dogs, that's what it looks like.
I'd assume that it would be the same in bears.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So that's one theory. This one, the next one really made me smile. The thought is it could be escaped apes. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans either escaped from a zoo or possibly circuses. And the reason, what gives this the most credence, is in the southeastern United States, where a lot of hotbeds are. The climate is actually favorable for these ape communities, and there is a belief that it could actually be a community of apes that have escaped from either illegal zoos, circuses, private collectors who have let their primates go after they realized that having a 300-pound orangutan in their house was not a good idea. Things like that. And so they kind of believe that there's a possibility that these could be primate enclaves of primates.
It reminds me of the episode of the Grand Tour where they send the three of them, Jeremy, James, and Richard, down to Colombia to pose as wildlife photographers, and they give them a list of animals, and one of the ones they give them is a hippopotamus, which hippos are not native to Colombia or South America at all. But come to find out, some drug lord down there had a couple of pet hippos that he imported, and after he was caught and went to prison, the hippos kept living in the wild. So, situation kind of like that, I imagine.
That's kind of what I thought. When I first went escaped apes, I went, oh, nobody that has like an animal care license would let an ape escape. And then I thought of Tiger King, in all honesty. Like,
oh man, that show. Talk about a train wreck.
But if somebody's going to launch an illegal zoo, like, there's a possibility that apes would escape.
Could be, yeah.
So, humans. To me, this is the most likely. Is hoax pranksters wearing gorilla suits. Some people thought the possibility of shamans of animistic faiths wearing some of their suits, especially in the Siberian tradition. Most shamans wear like these fur suits that cover head to toe. So shamans were of earth religions leading or performing rituals, or possibly hermits or other survivalists that are just trying to scare away prying eyes. So the belief that it could just be humans. And then the last possible explanation is there's a phenomenon called pareidolia. And this is a phenomena where people will kind of matrix a human face where there isn't a human face that exists. So a lot of scientists believe that this is where you see ghost apparitions, is through this phenomena where people see a change in the shadow and they give it human-like characteristics. And so they believe that eyewitnesses without the video or camera witness could just be seeing shadows that take on human characteristics because that's what their brain is triggered to look for in patterns.
Yeah, I've actually read about this phenomena a little bit. There's a subreddit on Reddit where people post. I don't remember the name of it. I have to go look it up, which I don't want to do. But they'll post pictures that have that like appearance of a face, and it's kind of entertaining to see some of the things, whether it's a car or whatever, a tree that looks like a face. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool thing to like read up about if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. I watched I think one of those supernatural shows long time ago. I think I was in middle school maybe, and they were talking about how the human eyes are meant to see a series of patterns and will fill in gaps. And they were kind of talking about this phenomenon. Like, I don't want to give away how old I am. We'll just say it was more than 20 years ago this TV show was on, and they were talking about how our eyes will play tricks on us because we're conditioned to look for patterns, and that's what our brain will give us if there's missing information.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So a few thoughts, kind of wrapping it up. I have a couple more points to go through, but a couple of things for thought. Is there something in our forests that we don't know about? This one is, I'm going to let you take the bulk of this one since you're studying biology. Most of my theories are just going to be theories. So what's the chance that there's and I don't know what the technical scientific term is, but a large species, not like an insect or a bird or something, but a species of some large animal that still has not been discovered?
I'm taking off my biology hat and I'm just talking as a conspiracy theorist, like a supernatural freak. Like I want to believe.
I had that ready. I was waiting for you to say that phrase. I knew it was going to come up at some point.
Gosh. I've done a lot of backpacking, a lot of camping, a lot of backcountry exploring, and even though it appears that the world is small, that we've been everywhere, there's still so many old growth forests, mostly outside of the United States, because we are terrible stewards of our environment and we've destroyed most of our old growth forests here in the United States. But there's so much area that we haven't set foot in or don't set foot in on a regular. The Pacific Northwest is one of those areas that is still an untouched old growth forest that has not been cut down for cattle herding or any of that. And so could there be something there? And there could. I didn't realize how vast the forests could have been until I jumped on an airplane and we were flying to Iceland and looking down on Canada, especially around the Hudson Bay, and realizing that there is miles of untouched old growth forest. There's no way that humans could go and see everything. So could there be a species that we don't know about living in there? Yeah, I believe that there could be.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. And particularly up in this area, like, I mean, you and I had been tentatively planning like a hiking trip, which, I mean, the entire Sawtooth Wilderness area is like on fire right now, unfortunately, so probably won't happen. But just in researching the area and in the trips that I have taken, there is so much up there that, I mean, even just getting more than, I don't know, more than 10 miles into some of the wilderness areas, it is truly untouched country. And the mountain range, whether it's the Sawtooths or the up further in the Idaho Panhandle, Idaho is a very long state. And before I moved here, I didn't realize how long it was. I think because of the way that a lot of maps display it, it looks shorter than it actually is. But there's a huge untapped wilderness area, and I would not be surprised at all if there was species of all kinds that we haven't discovered yet, whether small, large, everything in between. So, yeah, definitely possible in my mind.
I guess that will bring us to the second question. Bigfoot? Real? Possible? Plausible? Or completely fake?
So I can't say real because I haven't seen one. I haven't seen, I mean, I've seen like the pictures and the movies and stuff that are out there on the internet, but I'm kind of a skeptic by nature, so I can't say real as much as I would like to. But I have to say plausible. I mean, I think it's more than just possible. I don't know what it is that people have seen, but I think there's definitely cases where what people have seen has been a bear or some other known species. But I don't think that's the case in all of these sightings. I think there's probably some animal that people have seen that we haven't discovered yet. I don't know what all the traits of that animal are. I don't know how intelligent they are. But I think it's extremely closed-minded to say that it's not possible. So that's my answer.
All right. I'm going to say plausible with a little bit of a caveat. North America, actually the Americas, has never had a wild ape. And the definition of an ape is a primate who has lost its tail, usually ground-dwelling. We don't have them here in the Americas. And so the idea of a primate evolving from the howler monkeys or some of the monkey, like the previous primates that we do find down in South America, Central America, and evolving from them to grow into a giant being, I think is very unlikely. So my personal belief is that we are seeing an undiscovered type of bear or some other large mammal. I don't believe that they would be primate, which would also explain why they tend to be nocturnal, as apes are not nocturnal. The only primates that are nocturnal are monkeys. So that's my own personal theory. I don't believe that there is a wood ape in North America. I believe that it is something else entirely.
Yeah. Could be anything, right?
Yeah.
So if you were, just getting into the hypothetical, if you were a Bigfoot, whether you're a primate or something else, where would you hide to avoid detection?
I gotta tell you, man, flying over Canada, there is millions upon millions of acres of untouched, unspoiled forest land. I'm there.
Yep, agreed. I would say somewhere in, I don't know, probably British Columbia, that, the eastern province of Canada, the Canadian Rockies. So, yeah. Lots of space to roam around. Not very many people.
I'm thinking some of the deciduous forest up in Quebec. Maybe even, no, probably not the Northwest Territories. I think there's too much permafrost there. But I think Quebec area.
Well, maybe you could be migratory. You could head up to the Northwest Territories or the Yukon for the summers and then come down south for the winters.
Oh, there you go. Maybe Bigfoot's a hunter. Maybe they follow the caribou just like the wolves do.
I mean, that would make sense, right? A large mammal is going to need meat. Mm-hmm. So
there you go. Solved. So that's kind of our thoughts. To close the episode, or close the main topic of the episode, there are a lot of organizations that you can go to if you want more information on Bigfoots. The first and one of the oldest is called the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, the BFRO. They have a website with a database full of sightings, encounters, pictures, anything that you could know, want to know, and want to be trained on how to hunt them yourself. And when I say hunt, I mean look for them, because our next organization will come after you. It's a nonprofit if you do hunt them, called the North American Wood Ape Conservancy, and they are here to protect the wood apes, or Bigfoots, and make sure that they do not get hunted if they do exist. So those two are the official organizations. As far as other places you can go for information, there's a lot of places in Washington, Oregon, California, where people who are just excited fanatics about Bigfoot have set up Bigfoot museums. There's also conferences and festivals. The biggest one is in Willow Creek, California, and it hosts the Bigfoot Days. And this is an annual festival. And the reason why it's in Willow Creek is if you go back to when we were talking about where the name came from, this is where Jerry Crew's logging company, where the company that he worked with that was logging, first encountered Bigfoot, is in this area of California. There's also the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. And then in 2022, so this last year, current year, as of the recording, there was the Bigfoot Festival in Marion, North Carolina, which saw an attendance of more than 10,000 people over this 2-day event. So definitely a lot of opportunity to go experience, explore the truth for yourself.
Cool. So there's one more that I want to plug, which didn't actually happen this year due to COVID stuff, but there's a convention in Idaho called SquatchCon, which is a Sasquatch convention. It is held in the city, or at least last year it was held in the city of Nampa. And again, going back to what you said about where the name came from, the city of Nampa is named for a Shoshone Native American chief called Chief Nampa. And the word Nampa means big moccasin or big shoe. So that is why SquatchCon is in Nampa.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out next year. That sounds like a fun festival.
Yeah, hopefully they bring it back. It'd be worth the drive. Anyway.
So we like to end every episode with a mindfulness moment. Some of them are quotes that make you think. Some of them are like religious scripture from different cultures all around the world. We've used the Havamal, we've used the Bhagavad Gita in the past. But basically just something to make us stop, think, and wrap everything together. Today's mindfulness moment comes from Jane Goodall. We talked about her earlier when we were talking about vocalizations, and she was an ape, a biologist that studied apes, primatologist, I think is what they would be called. And this quote says, "I'm a romantic. I would like Bigfoot to exist. I've met people who swear they've seen Bigfoot. And I think the interesting thing is, every single continent, there's an equivalent of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. There's the Yeti, the Yowie of Australia, and the Chinese wildman, and on and on and on." So, thoughts on the Jane Goodall quote?
I mean, if there was ever anybody that knows about apes and primates, she's on the short list, so I'm inclined to agree with everything she said. I also would like Bigfoot to exist. I hope he does, or they do, and hopefully they can continue to just live peacefully away from people where, because people suck.
Fair. Completely agree. I think it would be cool if they existed. I think it's cool that you have a hero of mine in Jane Goodall basically saying that she hopes that they exist. That there's almost too much mythology around them for there not to be some idea or smidgen of truth in the legends. And I kind of like that.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on this foray into Bigfoot and Sasquatch. Be sure to join us next week at the same time for a future technology look into the genre called solar punk. We'll see you then.
See you then.
Okay. And for everybody that joined us on the various live streams, thank you for dropping in. Especially Kaiju Ninja on the YouTube stream. Had a lot of fun chatting with you in the comments.